On 7's Gold Coast News, a kick in the guts, the disturbing graffiti discovered in a stolen car. We're there as 7 teens are arrested, caught trying to change a tyre on a stolen car. Never to be released, the maximum sentence for a man who murdered a Gold Coast schoolgirl and put her body in a barrel. A warm end to winter. What's causing this unseasonable heat? And an Australian first, the quirky new restaurant taking shape at Dreamworld.
Live from the Gold Coast, 7 News with Steve Titmus.
Good evening, everyone. They're a Gold Coast family who turned their grief into good to save lives across our city. But tonight, the parents of murdered teenager Jack Beasley are distraught after a disturbing message was scribbled inside a stolen car.
Tucked away behind trees, a stolen Land Rover. The scene suspicious, but what's inside is disturbing. A message so abhorrent, it sickened Gold Coast police.
There's no empathy when you're writing stuff like that. There's no care or forethought about what hurt you could cause.
3 letters, JBK, Jack Beasley Killers, scribbled underneath about the Gold Coast teen who was murdered in Surfers Paradise.
You wonder about the IQ of these people, of who would do something like that.
Jack's death was the catalyst for sweeping reforms. His parents, Brett and Belinda, the driving force in stopping knife crime.
Jack's family weren't aware of the graffiti until they were told by 7 News. They were too distraught to speak on camera, but Brett Beasley said over the phone it was absolutely disgusting, heartbreaking, and a kick in the guts to the family.
It's extremely hurtful, not for just the Beasley family, but the wider community as well, and shows complete disrespect.
Police now looking for where the car is and who's responsible, investigating possible links with this video posted online. A 15-year-old boy riding in a stolen Land Rover. We tracked down the teen's father.
Is it tough to watch?
Yes, it's annoying really. These kids think that it's cool to do this, and they're trying to all outpost each other, and it's wrong.
Wrong, like disrespecting the death of a much-loved son. Sam Payne, 7 Gold Coast News.
A group of 7 teens who piled in a car stolen from a Southport panel beater have been cornered in an Oxenford car park. Our cameras were there when the crew's crime spree came to an end, caught trying to change a tyre.
A dark car park, but not dark enough for these arrogant adolescents to hide, laughing and hugging before saying goodbye.
I'm not joking.
Neither were officers. One by one, the teens were escorted to police cars. Drug items also discovered. The group of 7 caught with this stolen Subaru Outback.
Members of the public called police to say that it looked a bit suspect that they were trying to change tyres on the vehicle.
The car taken from Southport.
It was stolen from a panel beaters over the weekend. That vehicle was involved in a crash, and that's why it was at the smash repairs.
Before smashing it even more, the vehicle missing 2 tyres with dozens of dents and a smashed mirror. The teens arrested aged between 15 and 17. 5
of those juveniles had minimal history with the QPS or in Queensland and were cautioned.
But police weren't as lenient with the 15-year-old girl who was allegedly behind the wheel.
The driver, we will allege, has been arrested for 2 unlawful uses and 2 stealing matters where she's done drive-offs in that vehicle and another vehicle.
As for the cautions,
the cautioning that they receive from police is enough to give them an uppercut to say, you're going down the wrong path, get off it and get back on the right path.
Before they end up in youth detention. Amelia Adams, 7 Gold Coast News.
A pile of flowers continues to grow in Bonogan for a 21-year-old who died in a car crash yesterday. Heartbroken loved ones of the Mudgerubar man visited the scene and say he was bringing his friends home from a party.
Being involved in a freak accident on this road when he was trying to bring his friends back home, it was really shocking for us.
4 passengers were taken to hospital. The man who murdered Coolangatta schoolgirl Charlize Mutton before dumping her body in a barrel will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Justin Stein shot the 9-year-old on his property and tried to blame it on the girl's mother. The judge today pointing out the callous nature of the crime as she handed down the maximum sentence. Amy Clements has more.
Justin Stein was emotionless as he was handed a life sentence without parole, his crime labelled extremely wicked. A jury found he killed 9-year-old Charlize Mutton when she was left in his care at his Mount Wilson property in January 2022. He shot her twice, then stuffed her body in a barrel, dumping it near the Colo River.
Have you been involved in the death of Charlize?
No.
Handing down her judgment, Justice Helen Wilson said the 33-year-old is without any shred of remorse, and all his energies were spent on covering his tracks and trying to deflect blame to the girl's mother, his fiancée at the time. Adding while giving evidence, the offender was completely dry-eyed and did not shed a single tear. The tissue was no more than a prop.
That kid really does mean the world to me. She was going to be like my little girl.
The court heard that the 9-year-old had aspirations to be a vet because of her love of animals, and that her family now live in torment with overwhelming grief and devastating guilt. In sentencing, Her Honour said what happened and why will likely never be known unless Stein decides to unburden himself of the truth sometime in the future.
Amy Clements reporting there. A man accused of stabbing another man at Southport last week has made an unsuccessful bid for bail. Police allege Kanavir Singh was armed with a screwdriver and arrested him yesterday. 2 other men have also been charged following the dispute believed to be over rent. Now, if you thought today felt unusually warm for winter, well, you're extremely right. Temperatures have soared across our city in what's been called an unseasonable change, and holiday makers couldn't get enough.
Finding any way to cool off, including a morning soak for one of Dreamworld's tigers or a run through the fountains. For many, hitting the beach was the only answer.
Yeah, we're from the Vic, so it's like 12 degrees and storming down there, so it's great.
It feels like a French summer, so it's kind of good. We feel like we're on holidays.
Others were a little sceptical.
It's crazy. It's like, what is happening? Like, where is this nice cold weather gone?
We've had a real build-up of heat last week over central parts of Australia. That's now been carried and pushed eastwards across Queensland.
Even though temperatures didn't quite reach as hot as expected, they certainly climbed to the high 20s, unseasonable for this time of year.
Likely to see our warmest August temperature since 2009.
Some construction workers weren't fazed.
It's not very hot. I hope the weather will increase in temperature next week.
He might just get his wish.
Even though Gold Coast has sweltered through well above average temperatures, the ocean water was sitting at the minimum average, a very cool 20 degrees.
It's very hot. Oh yeah, we're going to the pool.
Keeping cool on the forecast for the rest of the week. Danielle Bowen, 7 Gold Coast News.
And now for a look at what's causing all this heat. It's good evening to Michelle.
Thanks, Steve. It's a weather pattern we started seeing last week. A trough is moving across Queensland, pushing hot air from the centre of Australia, blowing warm northerly winds ahead of it. The trough is expected to move offshore tomorrow, but once it's gone, there are more on the way, expected to follow similar patterns. Here's a look at the forecast chart for the middle of the working week, and we can see another trough is forming there. And this is the heat we are expecting in Queensland on Wednesday. On the Gold Coast, this will look like figures in the 30s. The coast's August record is 32.4 degrees and Saturday's forecast is 33. So we will be watching closely there to see if the final day of winter ends up being record-breaking. Back soon with the forecast, Steve.
OK, no complaints, Michelle. It's very nice. Gold Coast students have spent months carefully crafting tiny houses for our city's largest outdoor sculpture exhibition. But the creativity also came with a lesson about affordability and the future of our skyline.
Hammering away at prime real estate. 50 tiny homes, 8 months in the making, ready to be placed on Currumbin Beach for the Gold Coast to see.
It's not every day you get to show the kids' artwork in such an incredible situation like Swell Sculpture Fest.
King's Christian College students busy putting the finishing touches, including kittens and surfboards.
We started off with the painting first, and obviously we have to let it dry for quite a long time. Yeah. So it was a very long process.
It's really cool because we're all collaborating to make something so beautiful.
That has a deeper message. The artworks represent what the southern Gold Coast used to look like and what it will in the future.
We've aimed towards
a bunch of old retro houses, and that are under the shadow of a tall skyscraper.
As the kids of our city prepare for more development.
They're going to be the future builders for Gold Coast. They're going to be the people involved in building our new skyscrapers or our new housing opportunities.
And building our city's future. Sam Payne, 7 Gold Coast News.
We'll take a break, but coming up, see the moment police pull over a dangerous speedster at Hope Island. How fast was he going? Find out next. Plus, meet the Gold Coast family who reeled in an extraordinary catch. And the new interactive dining experience taking shape at Dreamworld. The mother of NRL star Payne Haas, Joan Tafua, has been slapped with 2 lawsuits from the family of a man killed in a deadly crash in Bonogan. Tafua has been charged with manslaughter over the collision, which ended the lives of 3 people, including Chris Fawcett. Now members of his family have filed personal injury claims in the Supreme Court against her and insurer AAI. A speedster has been caught driving almost 50 kilometres over the limit at Hope Island. The Pimpamar man was nabbed doing 119 kilometres an hour in a 70
Mate, people die at slow speed, yeah? Right. Slow down, mate. OK?
Another driver was caught more than 4 times over the legal alcohol limit at Pacific Pines. The woman was spotted driving erratically along Binstead Way. She blew .215.
Have you had anything to drink tonight? What have you had? Some wine? Is that why you crossed over 2 solid lines and then drove not on a road?
The arrests are part of Road Safety Week that's been launched on the Gold Coast. The blitz runs until Friday. A Gold Coast family has reeled in a catch bigger than some tinnies, almost earning them a Queensland record. With enough manpower, they managed to get the supersized blue marlin on deck before reaching for the scales.
As tall fish stories go, this one really was this big, and the Cayley family spent 2 hours reeling in this 330-kilogram monster.
It's an unusually fat fish for its length.
See a blue of that calibre is, fantastic. It's awesome. It's, known as a marlin mecca here.
Their Sunday started out like any other anglers, looking for a bite aboard a sports boat called Jugs. Then, 30 kilometres off the Gari coast, their rod latched onto a beast from the deep.
We got a hit and the fish nearly spooled us on the first run. When we got her close to the boat, she was near dead.
Today, the family returned to the marina for the all-important weigh-in, hoping to beat the Queensland blue marlin record at 390 kilograms. The mighty marlin was lifted to the cement and back on the water, and the verdict was in. This blue missed the cut by around 60 kilograms, but it's not destined for fish food. Their insides are far too deadly to eat because of the mercury content. Instead, it has a far loftier purpose.
That'll all go to scientific research to understand more about the marlin species, their growth rate, their size, their migration.
Tom Duffy, 7 News.
Oh, what a great catch to brag about. Dreamworld has taken us behind the scenes into a new immersive and interactive restaurant. It's set to bring dining at theme parks up to a whole new level. The restaurant, called Jane's Rivertown Restaurant, can hold up to 280 people at one sitting.
We've got smoked meats, we've got stone-baked pizzas, fresh salads, hitting every dietary requirement. A lot of our jungle friends, from orangutans to monkeys to snakes and macaws, hanging around the restaurant.
Sounds interesting. The restaurant is expected to be open by Christmas. Sally Pearson, she loves a fancy restaurant, but so with tonight's sport. Hey, Des Hasler, he isn't happy.
Oh, he was certainly fired up after last night's loss, Steve. Hello, everyone. The Titans coach calls out NRL referees over high contact confusion. And invaluable lessons for our future track and field stars at an elite training camp.
On 7 News, Selling Australia, the nation's biggest ever property report.
The market has gone absolutely ballistic.
The suburbs where prices are set to soar. How you can cash in. 5 nights, 5 stories on Queensland's 7 News this week.
A frustrated Des Hasler has lashed out at the state of officiating within the NRL following his side's loss to the Roosters. 6 players were put on report during the Titans' 26-point defeat, prompting the coach's criticism towards policing of high tackles.
There's not a lot of confidence at the moment, I think, with players, interpretation around what's a high shot, what isn't a high shot, what's deemed, what's coming back. So there's a lot of nervous individuals on both sides at the moment.
The Titans will take on the Knights and Penrith to round out their season, both clashes away from home. 2 of our Suns AFLW stars have taken a trip down memory lane at Kurrawa Beach today, ahead of Saturday's season opener against the Saints. Midfielders Claudia Whitford and Lucy Single have previously competed in surf lifesaving. The pair showed their support for our Aussie reps at the World Championships this morning.
I did it for a few years and Kurrawa was my club, so it's really sweet to be, back on my home turf.
The Suns men finished their season with a 28-point victory over Richmond at the MCG. Gold Coast didn't make the finals, but finished with the most successful season in the club's history, recording 11 wins. Future track and field stars have been put through an invaluable class on grass in Runaway Bay today, learning what it takes to become an elite athlete.
At home, they're the cream of the crop, but at this high-performance training camp, these young guns are just getting started. The country's best up-and-coming athletes, victorious at national trials. Their reward, invaluable coaching insights from Australia's elite.
In the coaching group, we've got a number of people that have been over to Paris. They've just come back from Paris. They're talking about everything that was there.
Mentoring aspiring Olympians, just 14 and 15 years old, learning what it takes to reach peak performance.
Learning what to eat, what's good before trainings and what's going to fuel your body and everything.
It's just really inspiring to be able to put myself against them and be able to challenge myself.
The Coles Little Athletics National Camp started at Runaway Bay on Saturday and will wrap up tomorrow.
Trying to give them the confidence and the ability and little sneaky snippets of what they can do to get better.
It's incredible to be here because these athletes potentially could be our Brisbane Olympians at the 2032 Games.
Heading home with lessons learned that'll shape Australia's next generation of athletic stars. Liam Bland, 7 Gold Coast News.
That's where it all begins, Steve.
Sally, you must have some really fond memories of those days, little lads.
Certainly do, yes.
Good idea. OK, thanks for that. Coming up soon in 7 News, well, the pokies, they've been rolled away, the clean-out of a southeast casino. What's next for the Heritage Building?
And it's feeling like summer in the final week of winter. I'll have the forecast next.
Let's go to Max Futcher now for a look at the top stories coming up shortly in the news at 6.
Steve, tonight, the moment a monster great white attacks a fishing boat.
He just bit my boat.
Car thieves' cruel and shocking insult to parents of a murdered Gold Coast teenager. New rules for airlines over delayed and cancelled flights, what it means for travellers. Here comes the heat, when it'll surge into the mid-30s. And Selling Australia, how you can cash in on our big property series. Full details just ahead at 6.
Time for a full weather wrap now, and Michelle, we are cheering, but where has winter gone?
Somewhere other than southeast Queensland, Steve. Currently it is still 23 degrees in Southport with north to northwesterly winds at 13 kilometres per hour. On the Gold Coast today, these sort of temperatures almost seem to be becoming normal, but they're not. It only got down to 18 degrees at the Seaway last night. That's 1 degree off the record for the warmest August night. Coolangatta reached a top of 26 and it was around 30 degrees inland away from those sea breezes. On the satellite, a trough is sending hot air from the outback all the way to the coast as it slowly moves east. Tomorrow it moves offshore, but more troughs are expected to form through the week, moving in similar patterns across southern Queensland and continuing this warm trend. So on the Gold Coast tomorrow, tops are still in the 20s for all spots, except for Canungra on 30 degrees there, and warm again tonight with a low of 17 for coastal spots. In Surfers Paradise, a mostly sunny day ahead with 17 to 27 degrees. If you're heading out on the water, winds will be northwesterly, tending northerly in the afternoon with seas to 1.5 metres. Surfers, it was a small and messy swell today, about knee-high at Burleigh Heads. A good chance for learners to get out there though. Tomorrow we have the swell picking up just a little bit, but you'll still have to search for a wave. It'll be about waist high. And we have south to southwesterly winds forecast in the morning. Looking ahead, nothing here but blue skies on the board. And here is that heat we have been talking about. 30 degrees on Wednesday, then building to the final day of winter on Saturday with 33 degrees. And Steve, that could even be record breaking.
Well, absolutely incredible weather on our way. Time to get rid of the doona as well. Thank you for your company this evening. Join us again tomorrow night at 5:30. I'm Steve Titmus. Bye for now.